Sponsored by Local Touch Online, a free online magazine that has an exclusive article by Pop Culture Geekery every month. City Bakery in San Marcos is back and open for business. They're ready to serve you with curbside service with their fresh baked goods including pan dulce and homemade tortillas. Call ahead for your order and visit them today. All right, welcome back, everyone. So we have Roy from Roy's Toy Box back on with us, and he finally gets to talk about something that it has nothing to do with Apocalypse War.
I know, right?
So,
We survived. We survived, unlike all the mini heroes.
yeah.
That did not.
In fact, by the time y'all watch this, the Apocalypse War final part will probably debut on Monday, I assume. So. But anyway, so we wanted to talk about one of the new offerings from DC Universe, which is the new Stargirl TV show. So this is based on the character of the same name from DC Comics. It's one of those characters that I know of her, seen her here and there. I don't think I've ever officially seen her in anything. I didn't miss her in some weird crossover or something, right? Like a TV series.
She actually did make a brief cameo in Legends of Tomorrow. Like, she was in there, one of the ones where they go to the past and you see the JSA. So you see some of the characters we're going to see in Stargirl in Legends of Tomorrow. You see them in this as well. So it's kind of funny because it's almost as brief in this first episode, this pilot episode.
Oh, so it's the same lead girl and the same cast who's going to be in this one? Like,
no. I don't actually. I'm not sure. I don't think it credits her with it. But the character does show up in Legends of Tomorrow, along with, I believe it's like Hourman or whatever his name is, and Sandman, and is it Owlman? Who is that guy with the owl? Is it Owlman? I'm still kind of unfamiliar with the character.
No, you're thinking of Dr. Midnight.
Dr. Midnight, that's right.
Yeah, Owlman is from The Watchmen.
Okay, I just saw the owl in the photo later, and I was like, wait, who's that? Yeah, but you're right. See, this is why I need my notes, because I actually had figured that out and I completely forgot. So yeah, we do see them briefly in the Legends of Tomorrow series, but I don't think it's the same actors or anything like that. But we do see her at least show up briefly in that.
Yeah, I was looking here. I don't think it was her either, because I don't see anything credited to her other than Stargirl. So, so that we're just going to go over episode 1. I believe there's 13 total that'll be coming out weekly. Which I know some people don't like that format, but I don't know. Maybe I'm old school. I like the anticipation sometimes, but I know there's a lot of binge watchers out there. So, thanks, Netflix.
Yeah, it's got spoiled. Well, it kind of goes back and forth, because then you can either get a spoiler, or like by someone already binging the whole thing and spoiling it, or you can get somebody like, who was it, IGN, who just blurts everything out anyways, even if it's episodic. So it's a lose-lose. But yeah, I'm kind of spoiled too by the binging. I would have liked to have continued to watch this, but I think it's off to a great start. And again, like you, I don't really know the character as well. This is probably an older character. I'm not really familiar with her, or really the JSA. I mean, I'm more Marvel, Image, back to Marvel, and a little bit into DC. But hey, I'm going to learn with the fans, so I guess that might help in my review, because I enjoyed this.
She's actually not as old as you think. She's actually a Jeff Johns creation.
Right.
She debuted in '99 and as her alter ego Courtney Whitmore, and then she debuted as Stargirl in 2003.
Okay.
Checking out her stats here. So So for the purposes of the character, she's actually only, it's funny to say only, but only 20 years old as compared to some of the other characters, who are well over 50 years old.
Yeah. JSA goes way back apparently.
But yeah, so it was one of those. I don't know if they ever would have been brave enough to try this, in the theaters. So I'm glad that DC Universe exists so they can give characters like this a shot and kind of open the world up of the DC Universe to the public, because. I guess we'll just say we're going to talk about spoilers. I mean, it's too hard not to. And they show a lot in the trailer too. There's not really too much surprises. There's one key mystery that thankfully they don't answer right away because it adds some intrigue. But we'll talk about that. So the main thing, we start off here. Luke Wilson is part of the cast. I was really happy about that because of his presence, and also later we see Amy Smart. Who I will never forget from Road Trip.
I know her from Just Friends, which I absolutely love, with Ryan Reynolds. She plays such a great character, and I think she was also in Shameless. Great actress, just fun to watch, very entertaining, and both of them lend a lot of their parental roles are really good for this. I think they did a great job. Luke Wilson, especially, because he just has that old school, like 50s kind of father feel in this, all about, values and stuff like that. So it's very, very hokey.
Yeah, and in this world, apparently the JSA already existed, because we start with a prelude, where it's 10 years prior. Luke Wilson's character, Pat. But he's apparently a sidekick to start the original Starman, named Stripesy. That was funny.
Star Spangled Kid or something like that was his way he started off.
Well, that was apparently the way that Starman started. Before he got the staff. But yeah, it's a great opener, action packed, to just throw you in the middle of a battle. Very classic battle. Which is appropriate because these are super classic heroes and villains. Some that are so, when you really look at their names, are so generic, but they actually make them threatening because this is not your week for for superheroes surviving big battles, Roy.
And I was just like, well, I guess at least it wasn't as bad as all the carnage and Dark Apocalypse War or whatever, but still, I was just like, oh wow, they're not holding back on this, not pulling punches on this pilot.
Yeah, and it's funny because they weren't, it's not like R-rated or anything. I think the most you see is some blood on Starman when he's taken out, but other than that, everybody, it's very much a live action comic book, which I really loved right away. So yeah, I love how Stripesy jumps in and he basically is the audience right away. He starts naming all the heroes. He's like, oh, it's Wildcat, oh, Starman, Dr. Midnight, Hourman, and it's just like, oh, well, that's nice, and then
narrative.
The villains, I think he narrated most of them. I did look up some of them. We have Brainwave, Icicle, the Wizard. I thought I knew you'd like that one.
Well, and I was like, oh, okay, it's just the Wizard. All right.
And we actually get Solomon Grundy. Now, I will say, I know you mentioned to me that you didn't like the CGI. Now, I actually watched this on my phone, so I assume you watched it on your big screen TV. So maybe because of that, you saw more of the CGI than I did, because I knew it was there, but I kind of come to expect that from these shows. Yeah,
it just has that kind of like low budget CGI. It's not the worst, but it has a lot to improve on, especially when you know what studios can do and stuff like that. But obviously they can't spend the budget on that. I mean, it just looked really very clanky, and the model looked very weightless, and it just looks really weird, like almost 90s CGI. Luckily, he wasn't on screen very long, and he's always in the shadows, and you don't really ever see him, so that was kind of a plus. Unfortunately, I would have liked to have seen, Solomon Grundy. It's like, oh wow, of all the characters you could show that we actually know, everybody knows who Solomon Grundy is. and then we just get this CGI catastrophe. But it was fine. The battle made up for it, and we got to introduce some cool characters. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll see him again because all the villains were fine. They survived
Yeah.
just fine.
Oh yeah, they had a good day on Christmas Eve. They had a good day.
Yeah, but if you've seen the trailers too, you've seen the pretty comical exchange between Pat and Starman while he's dying. He's like, someone must take up the mantle, not you, but
Absolutely
someone.
brilliant. Yes, I love it. And it had Joel McHale playing Starman, who is anybody knows there's a fan of his from Community and a bunch of other projects, I'm sure. But Community is a favorite of mine. And just to see Jeff Winger was the character in Community playing Starman, he was basically Jeff Winger. So it was kind of funny to see him playing this hero role and sacrificing himself, which he would never do in Community. I mean, unless he's absolutely pushed. He was a heart of gold in that one. But yeah, I love that exchange between him and Pat. Not you. He said it like 3 or 4 times, which is freaking hilarious. So it caught me right at the beginning. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, and then Pat inherits the staff, but he's basically holding on to it for whoever the future Starman, so he thinks at the time will take it.
Right.
Let's see here.
Oh, we can't forget the car. I was going to say the car we see at the beginning. He's got some souped up hot rod, not even hot rod. I'm sorry, souped up 50s classic car. I don't even know what that is. I wanted to say it was a Fury, but I've got to look that up. But that thing is like tripped out with all these fancy gadgets and stuff like that, a la Batmobile or something. But
yeah, it flies. I mean,
flies,
you have a flying car. I'm like, okay, now I'm in my element. Just
yeah. We don't need roads.
Exactly. So they fast forward, 10 years later, and we saw. I forgot to mention, of course, we saw young Stargirl. I'm just going to call her that through all this. She's waiting for her dad to come back, that same night when all this is happening. So, it poses the mystery of, who is her dad, because of course he doesn't show up.
Right.
And they question that later, was it Starman? Was it somebody else? It's a nice mystery. I was kind of glad that they didn't answer the question right away, because it might have been too obvious. But did you notice when they're moving the American Action Movers, it has the Action Comics logo on the moving van?
No, I missed that.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a lot of little nods. Like we said, well, actually, Jeff Johns is an executive producer on this, so that he got a lot of that in there himself.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, he's actually the co-creator of this version of Stargirl. It said producer James Robinson. So James Robinson did a version of Starman that was a more modernized version that I know was very well received. I remember reading the opening run he did, but it's been so long ago I hardly remember it. So that's cool that you have two big comic names, because James Robinson's a pretty prolific writer, coming in and having their hand in this show. Let's see here. Other nods I caught when Pat's looking through the files, like the old villains. The files are labeled JSA classified.
Classified, yeah, that was really cool.
Which, of course, is a comic. In fact, that photograph that he finds, I'm pretty sure that's modeled after like an old JSA cover or something, where they're all sitting around, and you get to see a lot of classic characters in there. I'm pretty sure you see the original Green Lantern, the one that has nothing to do with the Green Lantern Corps.
That's what it was. I was trying to figure out, like, who, because the picture itself, I think it's meant to look kind of obscure, but there were some characters I didn't know, but we did see like Hawkman and Hawkgirl. I don't know who the Vapor person was. Do you know who that was? It was like some
guy. I didn't look up every character, but I will say I did see Dr. Fate in there. And how much you want to make a bet he was not a dancer in that world?
Yeah. That was an interesting story. That was pretty cool though to see Dr. Fate. And who is the magician dude? Who's that guy? Was he somebody? I think he was a magician.
Let's
I
see
couldn't place him
here.
either. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. I don't know who. I'm sure they'll go into it. Maybe not. But I guess especially since they're gone. But yeah, I was just like, who's that guy? I thought maybe it was Atana's dad or something. I don't know who that's supposed to be.
Oh, you mean Zatara?
Yeah, there's a dude who kind of looks like a magician, and I was like, who's this dude? But I don't. Again, I wasn't as familiar with this, so I'm a little.
Well, that's kind of the way that the villain, the wizard, looked. So I don't know. That's not who
Yeah,
you're
yeah. There was a
thinking
dude
of,
with
right?
top. No, no. There was a guy though wearing some kind of tux, and he was like in the very far front left corner. Anyways, doesn't matter. I was just curious if you knew who he was. But yeah. But we also get to see the Flash, and that was one of the things we saw in the mansion at the beginning of the battle. You see the Flash's helmet on the ground turned upside down. So, but in the photo, he's either moving, like how he phase shifts, kind of, and he's always moving, or it's purposely blurred out because his face is completely exposed as the Flash in the JSA. So, maybe they haven't cast him yet, or who knows? But you don't see his face, which I thought was interesting. He's like front center.
So, a quick little trivia I wanted to mention about the actress who plays Stargirl. Her name is Breck Basinger.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually from the DFW area.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool to see a Texas actress, getting such a high profile gig. So
yeah, for sure.
But after that, I kind of stopped taking notes, but it was mainly because I was engrossed in the story. And it was funny because basically my note here was, so we've just established that high school sucks. Like,
oh yeah,
like that's what we were doing for the longest time.
Yeah, so you've got this teenager. She's 15 in this story. It's 10 years since the death of her. I'm sorry, not her father, because we don't know, but since her father disappeared, I guess, or abandoned them, and they've moved from L.A., big city of L.A., to a place I'm assuming is fictional, Blue Valley, Nebraska, because her mom got a job working for American Dream, with whatever that is. I'm not sure if that's a political place, like some kind of thing, because they do kind of show some stuff. And they mention a certain character, a councilman or something, which I'm assuming is going to come into play later. But she's, already angsty, at that age where everything sucks and life sucks and your mom sucks and your dad sucks, all that stuff, no matter what. She's kind of dealing with this. She's got father issues, obviously. She's still, waiting for her dad still. Apparently, Amy Smart's character has, I'm assuming, married Pat, Luke Wilson's character, and I guess they have a kid together. I'm not sure if that was their kid together or if that was his son before, because he seems a little older than 10 years old. And it looks like they must have met after all that happened. I don't know. But anyway, so she's a stepdaughter to Pat, Luke Wilson's character, but she is Amy Smart's daughter. And so anyway, she has this resentment towards her. And yeah, they go to high school, or she goes to high school and meets a popular girl. And I felt like this part was kind of almost cliche. You have the popular girl that, just her whole attitude towards her. And you've got this table of like losers and loners that she sits with. And, they kind of introduce the characters briefly, but even in a small town, you've still got these, I don't want to call them tropes, because I'm interested to see where it goes. But they do establish that okay, this is high school sucks. And it lends a lot to her character. And I think the jocks are really overpowered, by the way, in this show. I was really surprised later on.
Yeah. I was thinking about that too, but unfortunately reality is it doesn't matter what era, it's always the same. Like it repeats. There's different situations, different settings, but unfortunately, kids are still kids, so they're still.
Yeah. Well, it's such a contrast, I thought, because I mean the way they presented Blue Valley, and the Beavers, I thought that was funny. The way they present it, it's very kind of like hometown USA. Everybody is very friendly. They're walking around town. All the adults are saying hi, but it almost kind of feels like this. It's like a mask almost, because just the way, almost like Twilight Zone-ish. It just has that weird feel like there's more going on than what they're letting. Everyone's on this secret or something. But then when they go to the high school, you see that the kids are, they're all a bunch of jerks, basically. So it was definitely a contrast to the town.
Yeah. Um, so so after so of course she discovers the staff, um, and it reacts to her. And as Stripesy explains later, it's only supposed to react to whoever is Starman.
Right.
So obviously there's something there, whether it be her DNA or something and that's what creates the mystery. Because I think he point blank tells her that Starman was not her father or couldn't be her father, or somehow tries to explain it away, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because she even wears a locket and she opens it up, and it kind of looks like I'm going to keep saying Jeff Winger, but it kind of looks like Starman, um, minus the beard. And the photo's kind of blurry, and yeah, he kind of just says no, it's not possible, and just kind of puts that whole idea to bed. Well, and I kind of like that because she just started making these assumptions right away. She jumped right away to like, oh, then he must be my dad and all this stuff. And I was like, oh man, please don't do it that way. Like, don't jump and give us the answer like that. And luckily they didn't. So I was happy with that. And it like you said, it does lend to the mystery. And we've got a while to go. Like we've got some episodes to go, so we can learn, what's the connection. And she also saw some stars line up or something like that. Like I don't know, some whatever in the sky. So there's something. Yeah, and we still have a lot to learn.
Yeah, and of course we have the classic like training scene, where she goes and
Yeah,
trains, but she actually established early on that she was in gymnastics, and then
mm-hmm.
unfortunately this school didn't have that.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty unique how she used the staff, as her gymnastics pole, basically.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, that was really cool.
so I thought that was unique. It changed it up a bit, because a lot of this, it's funny because like you were saying, a lot of it could just be cliche or tropes, but I don't know, every now and then, when you watch something and you're thinking that, it just seems like it's coming together though. Like the actors are portraying it well, the setting is well, everything. Like sometimes it's okay, and then other times, I guess if they're not portraying it well, you're like, oh, these are just tropes. These are just, it's so
Mm-hmm.
funny how I feel like we split that, with different projects.
Right.
So, um, but yeah, so apparently, the bullies, when they're at a drive-in, which is another classic thing, but I can't
Yeah.
say anything. There is actually a drive-in here in our town, so
Yeah. Kind of
um,
exists. Yeah, it exists still.
yeah, they may be the resurgence after this,
Yeah.
but
Well,
but
and I
yeah,
think it. I was gonna say I think it lent to that kind of again that small town or hometown, USA thing. The driving is as American probably as apple pie and stuff. So I think they do a really good job, kind of giving the town making the town a character itself. So and I mean not to overthink it, but I thought it was world building. So that was great. Yeah, and apparently we learned that she can fly with the staff. Not only can she use it as some kind of like gymnastic apparatus, which I really did enjoy. I like that she was able to like leap off it, and I mean, so it's going to show that she can use this, to actually battle, the bad guys, all the villains and stuff like that. I did enjoy that, and she looked natural doing it. It didn't look. That I was surprised because the CGI on that wasn't bad. I mean, they did a pretty good job hiding whatever they were using to make the pole and stuff like that, and make it look like she was floating in air. So I did enjoy that. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I thought it was really good.
yeah, it seemed like they had an actual, I guess, gymnast doing the moves, and they probably
Mm-hmm.
just CGI'd it out all the poles, so
Yeah.
it looked really good. Um, but yeah, so her confrontation with the town bullies ends up in her, or the staff, as she claims,
Yeah.
blowing up their car.
Yeah.
And then the interesting twist at the end is that the bully, his dad, is actually Brainwave.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I thought was interesting because once the villains won that night, it's like, what have they just been doing for 10 years? So that'll
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
that'll be interesting to see. I mean, obviously that dad has just been hanging out. He's in a mansion. It looks like so,
Right.
so he's doing fine. So
Right.
so that was a nice setup, and I mean, pretty sure that's all that constitutes episode one. Oh, of course, can't the cliffhanger.
Right.
Um, so Stripesy apparently owns a giant robot
Yeah,
that he gets to
the Iron
pilot.
Giant. Yeah,
Yeah. So that was a great cliffhanger
yeah,
because just like, what?
yeah. Well, and like there was a couple little things I thought were maybe worth mentioning. Like one, we get introduced to a character, and I can't remember his name right now, but he works. I guess he owns a local gym, and he befriends Pat. And I assume he's gonna. I couldn't tell if he's gonna. That's the thing about these right now. I don't know if they're gonna be villains or good guys, but I kind of felt like he's gonna become a good guy. He's talking to Stripes about putting on muscle, and he's just kind of real friendly and just introduces himself. I found it interesting that Pat actually opened a tire shop there in Blue Valley, and then the fight with Brainwave between Brainwave and Stargirl actually takes place in that distribution center of that tire place. So I'm like, this is going to have like small town, but with big time villains, like where they're like running this town. Kind of that's what I think is going on. Is once they took out the JSA, they were basically free to do whatever evil they wanted to, and they're just hiding in plain sight, kind of. Yeah, so it's interesting. And Brainwave, I thought it was interesting because he calls somebody who's standing in a cemetery, which I assume is Icicle. I don't know who he called, but he tells him to wait till I get there. And yeah, of course, Brainwave decides to go ahead and just confront Stargirl and kind of shows a little bit of his powers and stuff like he did in the opening. But she's actually able to hold her own and ends up trying to escape. And that's where we see Stripesy show up in the Iron Giant and basically tells her to give her the staff or something like that. I forget what he said right there, but yeah, it was good. I liked it. It was a fun episode. It was entertaining, and I want to see the next one. So that's good. They did a good job.
Yeah, no, that was definitely Icicle because I remember they purposely showed his breath like coming out, so
right.
But yeah, so our scale for our reviews, 1 to 10, 5 being an average movie. I was wanting to give it a 7, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, no, I really enjoyed that. Like, and you know what? The one thing that I was just like, I'm glad this is not dark DC. I was like, I don't know. Did you like
Where's
Shazam,
Batman?
or you didn't like Shazam?
I like parts of Shazam. It was
Oh,
better
okay.
than a lot of the others have been, but
Yeah.
it was okay.
I thought it was more fun. That was just why I was bringing that up, because I was like, this to me reminds me of that. I mean, they've already got Titans. Unfortunately, I haven't seen Doom Patrol yet. Swamp Thing was purposely dark, but I was just so glad. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this an 8 out of 10. What about you?
Yeah, I definitely want to give it an 8. I think if the CGI had been better, I would have given it a 9. But I think it's a strong start, stronger than anything we've seen lately. Unfortunately, out of the newer series coming out of CW or DC, I guess. But this is not a CW show, right? This is going to be DC Online.
Yeah, so basically it is part of DC Universe, but they made a deal with the CW to also simul broadcast it. But for those of you who are completists, you can only see the full episode on DC Universe. It was actually edited down to about 45 minutes or less for CW because of their time slot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything earth shattering. I looked at the things they took out, but I'm sure it affected it a little bit because that's probably almost 10 minutes of footage they would have had to take out.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah. So if you guys don't have DC Universe, I highly recommend it. I actually signed up for it when all this mess started, and I've really been enjoying it. They just introduced the reward system, which I've totally been taking advantage of, racking up those rewards. So yeah. So if you guys have been on the fence about DC Universe, and you're a DC fan, you also have access to all the comics. It's great. I love it. So anyway, so thanks guys for listening. For those of you who haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Check out Roy's Toy Box on Instagram. The link will be below. He's actually going to start doing some toy auctions. So all this cool stuff you see in the background, you never know what he may decide to auction off. And so yeah, definitely follow him there, and that way you can check that out. So if you like the video, hit like. Until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.